Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom. We're on part 2, so not very far along. We just started chapter 1. And yeah, I don't know if we're starting a specific character's route yet or not on this video, as that'll be in the title, so you'll already know by the time you've clicked on this video. But I don't know yet. So anyway, I'm just gonna start. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. Oh yeah, and also, of course, this is my unedited channel, so I'm going to be leaving my bumbling speeches in. I'm not going to be cutting it out and doing more professional readings like I do on my main channel. So, be prepared for lots of stumbling around here. Was it morning? You mean, is it morning? What had happened to me? Ah, yes. Right. All at once, the events of the previous night rushed back. If only this was my room, I thought. They had tied me up quite well, so all I could do was wriggle around in the bed, twisting the blankets around me. I wished, pointlessly I knew, that I were back in my room waking up on my warm futon. If only this were a very strange nightmare. But it wasn't. I had met those men the night before, and they had taken me with them to the headquarters of the Shinsengumi. What will happen to me now? I sighed and lay down to await my fate. It was at that moment the door slid open, and a kind-looking man stepped through.
I see you've woken up.
With a soft smile, he introduced himself as Inoue.
I'm sorry to treat you this way. Hold on for a moment. I'll loosen the ropes, alright?
His smile quirked as he removed my ropes, working quickly and skillfully. My wrists, however, were left bound. Thank you. I bowed, and he let out a short laugh.
Now, if you'll follow me. They've been discussing what to do with you since morning. For now, they've decided to hear exactly what it was you saw last night.
Okay. I nodded and did my best to stand up, my body still a bit unsteady after being tied up all night. My arms are probably asleep. The man who called himself Inoue was very polite and almost kind, but it was quite clear I was to do as I was told. He must have been able to guess my thoughts, because he smiled at me and winked.
You don't need to worry. I know they seem scary, but they're all really nice.
Oh. I wasn't sure what to think of that. Even at home, I'd heard rumors of the vicious Shinsengumi. They're just rumors, don't worry about it. They weren't pleasant rumors. It was hard to imagine the people in charge of such an organization were nice. Inoue led me to a room and opened the door. I stepped inside and found myself surrounded by the leaders of the Shinsengumi. Their eyes dug into me like so many knives. I froze, just past the threshold, and swallowed.
Good morning. I hope you slept well.
Oh, I remembered him. Okita. Perhaps it was because I was surrounded by strange men, but it was somehow comforting to see a face I recognized. Even if it was the face of a rather frightening man who was almost certainly willing and able to kill me. Well, it wasn't particularly comfortable. I chose my words carefully.
Really?
His face twisted sideways into a grin.
Because when I have a look at you earlier, you didn't budge no matter what I poked.
Where did you poke? Wait, what? Okita's grin widened as my face turned red. Saito rolled his eyes.
He's only teasing you. Soji didn't go anywhere near your room.
Good to hear, thank you. Thank you for being forthcoming. Quiet, silent, I stared at Okita. With his grin still playing about his face, he glanced over at Saito. You ruined his fun.
I just wanted to see you squirm a little. Not very nice of you, Hajime, calling me out like that.
I don't think Saito did anything wrong. You, on the other hand.
Shut it. You sound like a bunch of kids.
Hijikata's voice broke to no further insubordination. Okita shrugged and was silent, but the smile stayed in his eyes. So, Hijikata, this is your witness? The man who spoke was, well, he looked more like a little boy than a man. I'd imagine the leaders of the Shinsengumi to be old, or at least middle-aged men, but they all looked quite young. In fact, they looked rather like a group of young thugs.
He's a real stick, huh? Just a kid.
That was Todo. On our way from my bed, Inoue gave me a brief description of the people I was about to meet. Supposedly, Todo was the youngest captain in the Shinsengumi.
You are calling him a kid, Heisuke. That's rich.
He chuckled as he spoke, but the way he looked at me suggested that there was little he missed despite his humor.
Right you are. To anybody else, I'll bet the two of you just look like a pair of scrawny little brats.
The man across from him nodded, with brows drawn, as if he was quite serious about the subject. However, I remembered Inoue telling me that two of the men in particular were somewhat immature, to put it nicely. He had said the one with short hair was Nagakura, and the other one with longer hair was Harada.
Leave off, you grumpy old bastards! The hell I will, boy! You think you can get away with talking to us like that? Besides, I'm hardly mature enough to be called old. Shinpachi maybe, but not me. You son of a bitch! I thought we were friends! Come on, Shin. When an adult gets so worked up over something like that?
Their back and forth had the feel of a routine that long pervaded my arrival, but they couldn't quite hide the odd, inquisitive glance in my direction. I could sense something other than simple curiosity, though, a feeling of animosity, or resentment perhaps. Despite their cheerful levity, they had not forgiven my presence among them. Suddenly, I wanted very much to go home. I wanted to leave that place and never return. My chest tightened, and I looked down at the floor, hoping that I just might wake up home in my bed. It can't be a dream, can it? Sanan, why can't we date you? I want to date you so badly.
I apologize for all this frightening behavior. Please don't give them the pleasure of unsettling you.
But you guys might kill me! Oh. His voice was calm and warm. I felt myself relax, even if only a little.
Are you serious? You're the scariest out of us, Sanan.
It doesn't seem like it. There was the faintest trace of a smirk on Hijikata's lips. As he finished speaking, the rest of the men nodded solemnly in agreement. I found it hard to believe this man could be as scary as they all seemed to think.
Oh, how crude. I can understand their feelings, but that even our demon commander should think so.
The man called Sanan smiled as he spoke and leaned back, his riposte delivered. Hijikata said nothing, but his own smile did not leave his face.
You're lucky to have a friend like Sanan, Toshi.
Hijikata and Sanan sounded so cold when they'd spoken to one another. Not what I would have called friendly. Still, the man who had spoken had certainly sounded as though he thought they were friends.
Oh, my apologies. I haven't introduced myself. I am Isami Kono, chief of the Shinsengumi.
The most important man in the Shinsengumi, then.
Toshi over there is the commander, and Sanan is our colonel. Kondo. Why are you telling him all this? Why do you think it's a bad idea? Well, unless you really think this kid needs to know all our secrets, maybe you should keep your mouth shut. Exactly. Why bother anyway? We don't owe this kid anything.
Harada glanced over at Kondo and let out a bark of laughter.
True, but it's not like telling him will hurt us.
Kondo had looked rather disappointed when Hijikata spoke, but he perked up at Harada's words. I'd scarcely known them for 5 minutes, but already I could see that he was well liked by his men. He had that sort of charisma that simply drew you in, a man who was impossible to hate.
Well, let's get back to the business at hand. Can you run through what happened last night?
Kondo's glance moved to Saito, who gave a small nod and began to speak.
Last night, we were on patrol when we encountered some wandering Ronin. They drew steel, so we fought. Some of our men subdued the Ronin, but in doing so, exposed their failure.
As he finished, Saito looked at me. I swallowed and forced my mouth to open. I didn't see anything. Hijikata softened a little at my response, but Saito remained expressionless, and the smile on Okita's face didn't change.
Huh. You sure you didn't see anything?
Yes, I didn't see anything. I hoped that if I said it enough times, they might start to believe me.
Really? Well, if that's true, then I don't see what the problem is.
Hold on a minute. I thought Soji said you helped out some of our men or something.
No, that's not true. I glanced over at Okita, but his smile still hadn't changed. Whatever he was thinking was a mystery to me. I was running away from the Ronin. And then some people with Shinsengumi uniforms showed up. Really, they sort of rescued me.
Well, then that means you saw them slicing up those Ronin, right?
I couldn't exactly deny that. But I thought that if I just shut them up, they'd know for sure that I was lying.
So, in other words, you actually saw everything. The whole ugly business.
I was completely at a loss.
You've got an honest heart. That's not really a bad thing, but...
I wasn't sure what to make of Harada's words. My presence had not been a good thing for the Shinsengumi. Would their next words be ones that condemned me to death for being in the wrong place at the wrong time? My voice shook, but I knew I had to try. I won't tell anyone. I promise.
It seems unlikely this attack was mere chance. Then again, I have no reason to think you're an enemy either. Even if you do not intend to tell anyone, you could be captured, interrogated. I doubt you could withstand torture.
I could be tougher than I look. His voice was still warm, but his words were cold, and I began to feel my chances of life slip away.
It's easy enough to stay quiet, but if someone should try to coerce you, you've no reason to keep our secrets.
My life?
We don't have any kind of guarantee that you'll keep your word. It wouldn't be very smart to just let you go.
They had a point, but...
Let's just kill the kid. You want to keep someone quiet, that's the only sure way.
But... I looked desperately at Kondo, who gave Okita a reproving look.
Don't be so cold, Soji. What do we gain by murdering a civilian?
Peace of mind? For yourselves? Okita's smile disappeared, and I looked down at the floor.
Oh, don't give me that look. I was just kidding. Then perhaps it should have sounded like it.
Okita made an attempt at a derisive snort and looked intently at a wall, his face slightly red.
But surely, there must be something we can do. After all, we're talking about a child. I have no wish to kill him either, but we can't discount the chance that he could reveal information about us.
Sanan paused for a moment, his brows furrowed, then turned to Hijikata.
I would like to hear the commander's opinion.
With the responsibility of his position invoked, Hijikata had no choice. He sighed and glanced around the room.
Last night, we had to kill some men who broke the code. This kid was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I imagine you mean to say that's all there is to it. Well, he probably saw something, but I doubt he really understands what it was. Even so, this is serious. We have bigger things to think about. We have to keep this under wraps. If rumors got out that soldiers of the Shinsengumi were thirsty for blood, that would be problematic.
Aren't there already rumors about that in the first place? Shinpachi's words made sense, and they all knew it. Hijikata's face looked grim.
I think Soji has a point. Still, I'll do whatever Hijikata and Kondo tell me to do.
I think we ought to let him go.
Todo looked troubled.
It's not like he knows why they went nuts, you know?
Wait, what did he mean by that? To be honest, I hadn't really thought about it. Hijikata saw my eyes go wide, and I saw his narrow. They flicked to Todo.
Shut it, Heisuke.
No sooner were the words out of Hijikata's mouth than Todo clapped both hands over his own.
Uh-oh. Well, this is gonna make it even harder for us to let you go.
Huh?
A man should always be ready to face death. You should make your peace with yours.
But I'm not a man! A man? Is this my way out? Oh! They thought I was a boy. With everything else that had happened, I'd completely forgotten how I was dressed.
Very true. A brave death is always an option. When I was young, I committed honorable suicide.
Yet you're still here! No, I know the story behind this.
Although it didn't really stick, did it, Sano?
That just sounds funny. The suicide didn't stick. It just didn't take. Their jokes were barbaric, but they both broke into raucous laughter at them. Saito did his best to ignore them.
Hijikata, since we can't seem to reach a consensus, can I send the child back to his room?
As he spoke, Saito turned to look at me.
If you hear something you shouldn't while you're here, then we'll have no choice but to kill you.
Okay, I'll go back to my room. He was right. If I remained with them, then I could easily hear something I wasn't supposed to, like I already did from Toto. I didn't think he'd mention it for my sake, only as a possible concern for the Shinsengumi, but I was still glad he brought it up.
True. Can you take care of him?
Saito nodded.
I agree. There are too many careless men here.
Like Toto?
Come on, Sanan. What are you looking at me for?
He's not the one who made the slip up, was he?
That ought to be pretty obvious. We're in charge of being careless. Especially you, Heisuke.
Hey, back off! It was just a mistake, alright?
I could hear Toto's voice rise as everyone turned to look at him. He looked at them for a bit, then turned to me and mumbled in a voice I could barely hear.
I'm sorry.
Should I reveal that I'm a girl now? I was still afraid that I was about to die, so I couldn't bring myself to tell him no harm had been done, but he looked as though he meant what he said, so I gave him an awkward nod. It was the most I could manage.
Shall we go?
Alright. Now you can review stats menu, okay? And that means... Oh, just something you do during the start menu. After they had taken me back to my room, I sat there for a time looking down at my bound hands. The room, as I'd heard, had said the Shinsengumi were cruel, vicious men, but they seemed much more human than that. Then again, even as I sat there, they were deciding whether or not to kill me. I don't think they want to kill me, but it seems like they think they have no choice. If I didn't defend myself somehow, I'd most likely be killed. I don't know how I'm supposed to convince them, though. However they might have felt about me, it was clear that their priorities were the welfare of the Shinsengumi. Oh, right. They still thought I was a boy. Yeah, I didn't bother to correct that. Perhaps if I told them I was a girl, they might reconsider. Or perhaps they wouldn't. Or perhaps that would make my predicament even worse somehow. I had no idea what I should do next. Well, actually, here I'm gonna go ahead and save and make that a video. So that will be my very first save. And in the next episode, we will actually begin a route. And I already know what it is, but you stay tuned to see what it is yourself. Hope to see you there or in some of my other videos. And I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.